Thank you. Wow, thank you. A world in which our products are alive. Going to the grocery store, not looking for food, but looking for seeds to grow your own chair or perhaps even your own home. At night, you leave the dishes for the table, and in the morning they're gone, because the table gets to eat too, right? But why would we want to live in this world? Being the youngest of 4 boys, I did not always felt being taken so seriously. I'm the little worm in the middle. Perhaps you recognize this with your own little siblings. The youngest one was just like trooping around. So naturally, I felt like hanging out with other friends who were also neglected at home, nature. And I came across something that I learned from a very young age, is that we live in a degenerative world, which means every extra human being on this planet would harm my friend nature. And what I found so fascinating is that all the other creatures didn't seem to have this problem. Extra other creatures were more regenerative. So I thought by myself, how is this possible? How can we actually create a new positive footprint? Well, mostly when we like to collaborate with nature, in order for nature to become valuable for us, first it has to do something. Die. Like this beautiful octopus. We tend to go into this forest, those amazing places, and we see the most amazing creatures. We look up, we see an organism that is able to create oxygen, absorb CO2, host thousands of other creatures, and we think, bench. Wow. We tend to degrade highly intelligent organisms into stupid materials, going from 1,000 material properties into just a few. Can we be better? What if we collaborate with living organisms and create a whole new range of living products that actually would enrich life? Imagine growing our homes from mushrooms, lighting our entire cities from the majestic ocean creatures, and of course our trash will be eaten by the other creatures that will eat our trash. And it was exactly this moment that my professors from the TU Delft architecture looked at me like, Bob, you know you can't live inside a mushroom, right? And I was like, yeah, sure. I understand. I'm not crazy. But at the same time, what is our alternative? That we continue the same path we go to, create a negative footprint, or maybe even worse, try to be less bad. I don't want to be less bad. I want to invest my time and energy in being good. But yeah, we only could really do one thing, and that was release our David Attenborough. So let's go all in. So we explored how bees would build their nest, how the ocean is responsible for 30% of the world's oxygen, and how mycelium is actually a very strong organism. And now I can hear you think, mycelium? What is mycelium? Well, this mycelium, it's an organism that lives in the soil we walk every day. And this organism, you probably better know if I explain a little bit more, it's a root structure of mushrooms. And that's actually very interesting because with this organism you can grow a new kind of material. And I'll quickly show you how I learned this doing my research and how it works. You choose your favorite type of mushroom. We all got one, right? You put it in a substrate mix, you mix it together, and in the end you choose any form you would like to fill it in, and in only 7 days the organism will grow a material for you. And if you put this in the oven, it becomes extra hard. And you get actually a pretty solid building material that could be sustainable, etc. So I was in the lab. And I thought by myself, this is actually going pretty well. I'm Bob the builder, walked around a little proud. I think we did something good, right? So I hang up my lab coat, turned off the lab, and I was out of there. But the next morning I came back and I thought, oh no, what have I done? I saw one sample that I forgot to put in the oven. I forgot to kill the organism, and it was still alive. I thought by myself, I had such good intentions, but still I'm being a parasite. Again, I was only worried about me. What did I want to do? I'm Bob, I'm the builder, I want to build homes, let's go. But what did actually the organism want? I didn't know. And it's very hard to go, even with those good intentions, to look beyond the ego. And for me, it was a rather fascinating moment that I really thought, okay, but what does the organism want? And what kind of role does this organism play in its ecosystem? I mean, I know what I want, right? And it got me thinking about nature's connectivity and how it works. And I stumbled upon a rather fascinating research that shows how ecosystems work together and how certain ecosystems have a keystone species. And whenever this keystone species declines, the entire ecosystem would collapse. And sometimes you hear like this little bee or this little mouse, and if it goes extinct, we're all doomed. I was like, yeah, sure, that doesn't work like that, right? But I learned it actually does. And I'll quickly give you an example. It starts with these beautiful two otters off the coast of British Columbia. And researchers found a decline in their population. And this is actually a problem because otters are a keystone species. And then I can here already wonder, but what is it that otters do that makes them so special? Well, they control the sea urchin population. Okay, Bob, but what's your point? The sea urchins are responsible for eating the kelp forest. But without the otters there, the sea urchins had all the free play, and they ate the entire kelp forest. And that became an issue, because the kelp forest is responsible for the oxygen levels, for the food, and for the shelter. Without the kelp forest, it's like the coral reef of the tropical waters. There was no life possible, so the waters literally died and the ecosystem started to collapse. The interesting part of this all was that this happened because of human overfishing on the other side of the oceans, where humans were fishing on whales. Meaning the orca, aka the killer whale, had nothing to eat. So the orca was like, guys, where's my food? Had to go inland, saw the sea lion, went further, saw the seal, and in the end, the otter. But luckily, nature is strong and resilient, and it can recover itself. By bringing back keystone species in their natural habitat, we can recover ecosystems. Like this beautiful British Columbia kelp forest, which is one of the most biodiverse underwater ecosystems in the world. And I thought by myself, okay, so now I better understand this, the connectivity of nature and the concept of keystone species. But yeah, I still don't really know, like, what does mycelium want and what is its role in nature? So I had to do it again, release my inner David Attenborough. And my professors were like, Bob, don't do it. And I asked the question, what does a mushroom want? You can't say that, this is a technical university. But we had to go deeper. And we learned something fascinating. Mushrooms are nature's biggest recyclers. They transform dead and organic matter into key plant food, allowing new life to thrive. Wow. So just like the sea otters example, without the mushrooms in the soil, the health of the ecosystem of the forest would collapse. Literally because there is no nutrition in the soil left for the plants to grow. Simple. Researchers even found out that they are able to share food, that they're able to communicate with each other. Therefore, they called it nature's internet. And I was really fascinated by this. And I thought by myself, wow, this is literally the cycle of life. We have it right in front of us. And I started thinking a bit about myself, like, okay, but what actually happens, when I die? What happens then? And I went a little too deep, to be honest. But I learned that even after we die, we leave a scar on our beautiful planet. And most of our end-of-life processes result in large-scale CO2 emission, soil pollution, material depletion. The main issue is we tend to see ourselves as waste. But when I look at all of you, I see beautiful bags of compost. I see a lot of value here. But unfortunately, somehow, along the way, we created an industrial system for one of the most natural processes out there, where it looks more like waste management than like the forest. And I mean, this is nature's graveyard. Isn't it awesome? Shouldn't it be ours? And the cool thing is, death means new life here. And somehow we're not part of this cycle actively. We choose to not be part of this cycle. And I thought by myself, okay, with all this knowledge, what if we could? So therefore, we invented the world's first living coffin, grown from mushrooms, that empowers us to enrich life after death. Within the soil, this coffin will biodegrade itself in just 45 days in the ideal conditions, where it will enrich the soil via its carbon and energy resources, improving the local biodiversity, empowering us to have a positive final footprint instead of polluting our earth. And the thing is, this is not science fiction like we started with in the beginning. This is a reality. We're working together with Europe's largest funeral homes. We raised investments to build an entire growing facility where we grow organisms, aka products, that we put back in their natural habitat. And the thing is, the only reason we ended up here is because we looked beyond the eye, beyond the ego. And we're so grateful that already over 1,500 people have chosen to become part of the cycle of life again and have a positive footprint in this way. And can you imagine that with this mindset and this collaborative attitude, how many new designs are out there? And we can unlock the full potential of organisms, that maybe one day that living home, that trash-eating bin, that's no longer science fiction, but that's going to be our new reality. And I think together we have a choice to make. When you look at the mirror, what do you see? Do you see yourself, or do you see the ecosystem? Do you see the clouds that will give the rain that falls on the forest floor, that brings the worms up, that attracts the bird, that bring the seeds, and the seeds that will flourish and will feed all of you? The real question is, how do we want to coexist? Are you waste, or are you compost? Thank you.